Let's extend an especially warm welcome to Fred's wife, Courtney, his children, Caden, Braden, Ainsley, and Sydney, and his parents, Jim and Carol. Also in attendance are Courtney's parents, Larry and Melinda Reisinger, Fred's sisters, Tammy and Jamie, with her husband, retired Colonel, U.S. Air Force, David Otto Graff, and their children, Ellie, Ryan, Mark, and Addie. Fred's sister, Christy, with her children, Luke and Nate, Fred's brother, Will, with his wife, Meredith, and their children, Annie and Brooke, as well as Courtney's sister, Leah. I know that all of you, more than any one of us, are vividly aware of the sacrifices Fred has made in the service of our country. I know that I speak for the entire command when I say how pleased we are to have you here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem. Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Fighter Squadron Composite 204, arriving. Will the guests please be seated? Side boys, host. Of a job well done, a sincere official recognition of a long period of faithful and honorable service. This is a day of great significance, marking the end of a rewarding way of life within the Navy community. The ceremony will conclude when, for the last time, the retiring member shipmates pipe him ashore. This is a distinct naval courtesy, a final farewell called on the bosun's pipe. And now, to begin our ceremony, it's my pleasure to introduce today's presiding officer, Commander Mitchell Newton, Commanding Officer, Fighter Squadron Composite 204.
Friends and family, distinguished guests, good morning or good afternoon now. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to New Orleans as we celebrate the retirement of Commander Fred Worm Allen and pay tribute to his 20 years of faithful naval service to our country. I'd like to extend my congratulations and sincere thank you to Worm's wife, Courtney, and to their 4 children, Caden, Ainsley, Braden, and Sydney. As we all know, New Orleans is not home for the Allens, which means Worm's family had to endure the hardships associated with the recurring and prolonged periods of separation from their husband and father. Without the support of his family, we would not be celebrating Worm's retirement today. On behalf of his family and all the River Rattlers, thank you for enabling Worm's contributions to our squadron, and thank you for your personal sacrifice for the benefit of the United States Navy. It's my distinct honor to preside over this ceremony because I consider Worm one of my closest friends. And I treasure the friendship the Allen family has extended to my own family. Based on the size of the audience today, I'm confident I'm not the only one that feels this way. Worm may be the friendliest and most genuine person I've ever met. He's without a doubt the kind of guy any fighter pilot would love to have in their squadron. I think it's fitting that we're having this celebration here in the heart of Mardi Gras because Worm has embodied the laissez-le-bon temps roulé attitude long before he was ever associated with New Orleans. I personally know Worm for 15 years, so I'd be remiss if I didn't recount some of the many fun times we've shared. I first met Worm at an air show in Grand Junction, Colorado in 2008. Being Colorado natives, Worm and I were both drawn to the good deal opportunity to show off the F-18 Hornet and Super Hornet to our friends and family. Worm and I became fast friends considering we had much in common. When the air show ended on Sunday, I weather canceled my return to Lemoore, California so I could join Worm at the bars on Sunday night. A year later, Worm and I deployed together on the USS Nimitz and sister squadrons. During the ensuing 9 months, I enjoyed many good times with Worm during our port calls in Tokyo, Singapore, Dubai, Bahrain, and Thailand, in between long underway periods and month-long stretches of combat operations in Afghanistan. Despite being stationed on opposite sides of the country, anytime I crossed paths with Worm, it always seemed like no time had passed since our last meeting. I've always felt it was a fitting coincidence that I followed in Worm's footsteps when he left active duty to join the River Rattlers and also moved back to Colorado to start a career as an airline pilot. Worm and I are essentially neighbors now, so although our time as squadron mates will come to an end, I'm sure the good times will continue to roll. Over the last 7 years as a member of the River Rattlers, I've shared so many incredible experiences with Worm, Courtney, and their 4 wonderful kids. I could talk all day recounting these experiences, but since I need a segue to our guest speaker, I'll tell just one more story. In the spring of 2018, the River Rattlers traveled to Key West for one of our many frequent adversary support detachments. Worm and Courtney took advantage of the trip to get married in the most unique and intimate way. I was honored to be invited to join them on a floatplane trip from Key West to the Dry Tortugas to serve as their wedding photographer with my state-of-the-art iPhone 8. The other 2 attendees are here today. My immediate predecessor, Borat, served as the official witness, and our guest speaker today was officially ordained prior to the trip in order to serve as the minister of Worm and Courtney's wedding. I'd also like to point out that Worm and Courtney's wedding was before Worm's mustache. Before he joined the family, a bold trait that he's exhibited continuously for over 3 years now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Commander Luke Ruckus Mixon, United States Navy, 38th Commanding Officer of VFA 204.
Well, good afternoon, and just first of all, Fred and Courtney, thank you for inviting Renee and I here today. It's really an honor to be here, and welcome to your children as well, Caden, Braden, Ainsley, and Sydney. It's great to see you guys again. It's been a little while. And to Worm's parents, Jim and Carol, it's an honor to see you guys as well. Worm asked me to speak at this ceremony today, and the first thing that came to my mind was what makes a great F-18 pilot? To be clear, I'm not one of them, but I do consider myself, as is most things, I'm an expert judge on such. When I checked into my first JO squadron, the department head said, Luke, you only have to be capable of doing 3 things as an F-18 pilot. Only 3. You have to land safely aboard an aircraft carrier, you must be able to take fuel from another airplane, and you must put bombs on target on time. And I think everyone here would agree with me that in our past 20 years, those are the only 3 things you had to be able to do in order to execute an actual mission. I think the great pilots all have one thing in common, and Worm was certainly one of them, and they're capable of making pretty good decisions on a consistent basis. You have to make a good decision right now. It can't be 10 seconds from now. It doesn't have to be a 10, but it needs to be a 7. It certainly can't be a 1. I'll tell you Worm's bio. Worm completed 3 deployments in support of our operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. That's a great catch. He served as an instructor pilot at VFA 106. He was selected demonstration team. He was later selected for CAG paddles. Finished over 3,000 hours in naval aviation. And in 2010, he was selected for Scott Spiker Pilot of the Year. Worm's an exceptional aviator. The second trait I think you need is, some people call it growth mindset, or what is the word I've heard? Intellectual curiosity. I call it be less wrong tomorrow. In this profession, we're always changing weapons. We're changing aircraft. The software changes. For Worm and I, the enemy changed. And I think you must be capable and willing to learn. You must be your harshest critic. You must be harder on yourself than anyone else, and a willingness to learn from everyone. Worm and I cruised together in the fall of 2014. We're going to support operations in Afghanistan. Been there, done there, right? Go up the boulevard, get some gas, talk to a JTAG, read the newspaper, talk to another JTAG, read the newspaper, come home. In the fall of 2014, a group known as ISIL at the time, which turned into ISIS, began their caliphate into Iraq. They were an extremist, violent organization that did awful things to innocent people. We were there when that happened, and our tasking immediately changed, and some of our complacency certainly went away quickly, and we began quickly learning what needed to be done. What weapons do we need to drop? I remember sitting through through many SWARP lectures, and they'd get to that auto quantity JDAM lecture, at which point I would go to sleep because I would never do that. Sure enough, we're on our way to Iraq learning about auto quantity JDAM. And in our ready room, we'd have all these lectures on the no-fly days to learn about this new war we were going to. And as we'd start our lecture, without fail, every time, I'd see Worm come through the back door, and he'd sit down in the back with his smart pack and his notepad, and he'd listen to every word we had to say, and he was there to learn. And usually CAG paddles came storming in the front, get to clap for him like you cared what they were about to say. He just creeped in the back, and he listened, and he learned, and he wanted to get better. And he learned from anyone, our JOs, me, our CO. And it's amazing the credibility that established with our junior officers. The next thing I think you need is integrity. This profession will tolerate any mistake. I've made a lot of them, and they tolerated them, but you must tell the truth about them. You cannot lie. Worm was one of the most honorable people I've ever been around. I would argue there may not be another job in the Navy, maybe not on the planet, where you must put your trust in another individual like you must CAG paddles. And this is back when men were men. We didn't have this magic carpet stuff, so you actually have to work a little bit. Our air wing put their complete trust and confidence in Worm. He commanded our universal respect and admiration. He kept us safe. There's one more thing that's required, the strong bar game, but I think that was all covered last night by Flat, so I'll skip ahead. I think Worm makes all those qualifications, but there's also something different about him. And I've ran into maybe 4 or 5 guys in my life that have this ability. To be clear, some of them are in this room. But I think in life there are difference makers. There are people capable of changing a culture. But they're not only looking to make themselves better, but make others better as well. And I'll pivot real quick to something a little bit controversial. I've gotten pretty good at saying controversial things in the last year and a half. To be fair, it didn't go real well. So if anyone leaves Worm, I apologize. Before Worm got here, VFA 204 was not that great of a squadron. And I know that may come as some of you were here during that time, and I apologize for that remark, but it wasn't. That doesn't mean they didn't get the job done. That doesn't mean they weren't capable of accomplishing the mission, but it was not a unit with a lot of camaraderie or unit cohesion. Frankly, I didn't see a lot of pride in the squadron, and Worm changed that. And there was others as well, to include the man who was right, the skipper of the squadron. But Worm changed that through his enthusiasm. His enthusiasm for naval aviation, his enthusiasm for VFA 204, his enthusiasm for this brotherhood was contagious in the squadron. It made a difference. And forgive me real quick as I read, I shouldn't do this, but I'm sure all you guys have heard this, but I'll read it quickly, I promise. The longer I live, my dad gave me this when I was a kid, and I'm sure you all heard it. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, failures, or success. Than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we all have a choice every day regarding the attitude we embrace. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play the one string we have, and that is our attitude. And I'll repeat one line of that. It says, attitude can change a company, a business, an organization. You can also change a squadron. And I believe Worm's attitude, his positivity, his enthusiasm for this brotherhood changed the squadron. I was here when Worm arrived. I flew my last flight with him in 2020. I can guarantee you this place was better when he left today than it was when he got here. I believe he truly changed VFA 204 for the better. Give me 1 second. I'll sum it up. It describes Worm's attitude. I asked my wife the other day, I said, hey, I'm reading a speech for Worm, what do you think I can say? And she said it so perfectly. She said, Worm reminds me of Goose. What does that mean? Because everybody loves Goose.
Yeah.
When we were on cruise, there were 2 CAG paddles there. And I liked them both. Oh, they're both great guys. And I was commenting to one of our junior officers one day. I won't use the other guy's name. But I was like, I like that guy. He's really nice. And one of the junior officers said, that guy's a complete jerk. I was like, really? I said, he's always so nice to me. She said, Luke, you're the ops officer of the only VFA F-18 Echo Squadron on the boat. Of course he's nice to you. The guy's a jerk. So I was so confused, like, man, maybe I'm wrong about all these people. I said, well, what about Worm? Do people like him? He's like, oh yeah, everybody likes Worm. I'm not crazy. You know, and all that enthusiasm doesn't mean that Worm just walked around with a smile on his face all the time. Doesn't mean he didn't complain, because he did. But he did something about it. He did something. If he didn't like the way an admin issue was, he tried to change it. If he didn't like the way a deck was run, he became the OIC. If he didn't like the way the beer tasted in the Rattler bin, he changed the lines to the keg. He made things better. I'll end with this and then a personal note, and I'll get out of your way. But I did some public speaking over the last year and a half. And one day, I was speaking in front of maybe, I don't know, a few people. And after I was done, a young boy walked up to me. He's like 9 or 10 years old. And he saluted and he said, I'm going to be a fighter pilot just like you when I grow up. I said, all right. And this little old lady walked up to me and she said, I just loved everything you had to say. I'm so happy for you. I said, okay, thank you, ma'am. And this younger guy, he said, I hate you. And I hate everything about you. I said, yes, sir, thank you for coming. If you can make a donation on the way out, I appreciate it. They all said the same thing to me before they left. And they said, some begrudgingly and some with enthusiasm, he said, thank you for your service. And if you're anything like me, you have no idea how to respond to that. You're like, I don't know, man. I watched this movie when I was 7 years old. I watched it another 100 times and decided I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And we all joined for different reasons. Every one of us joined for a different reason. But at some point, every one of us here raised our hand and swore an oath to defend and support the Constitution of the United States of America. And that is worthy of our nation's praise. That is worthy of a response of you're welcome. We all have our different stories. Worm has his. Worm was going for his certified flight instructor check ride on September 13, 2001. That flight did not happen on September 13, 2001. But because of date of events 2 days earlier, he began talking to his brother-in-law, who's here today, Otto, about a life in military aviation. And for the next 20 years, Worm faithfully served our nation in 20 years of war. His time almost perfectly matched our time in Iraq and Afghanistan. He served our nation with honor, with integrity. And we should be grateful for his service and for all of your service. I think in our community, we're so humble. And it's really just an outstanding group of people. And I appreciate that more now. And I thank you for your service, Worm. I thank you for your service to 204. I thank you for your service to our nation. And if I could just make one last comment, is that I personally thank you for your friendship. I don't know that we agree on everything. There's some little things we disagree on, like religion and politics. There's some big things we disagree upon, like Worm thinks that hockey players are the best athletes on the planet, and I think he has lost too many brain cells at Harris. But my wife keeps telling me I need to make new friends. My friends were always assigned to me back in the day, and now I don't have that many of them, but I do consider Worm a truly good friend. A great friend, and I know I'm not unique in that. I know we all do, because he is truly a wonderful person, a great father, and a great husband. Thank you, Worm.
Military members, attention to award. It's a pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Commander Frederick J. Allen, United States Navy, for services set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service while serving as executive aide and department head at Fighter Squadron Composite 204, from January 2015 to February 2023. Displaying absolute dedication to warfighting readiness and unparalleled professionalism, Commander Allen selflessly supported 52 detachments to support crucial optimized fleet response plan training events over the last 8 years. Providing the knowledge base and experience of a 20-year career in tactical aviation, enabled Strike Fighter Squadron 204 safe and successful completion of 16,000 sorties and 22,000 flight hours. His tactical skills and depth of experience raised the bar and directly contributed to Fighter Squadron Composite 204's selection as the Noel Davis Battle E recipient for 2015, 2017, 2021, and 2022. His dedication was reflected in Fighter Squadron Composite 204's selection as Commander, Naval Air Forces Reserve Squadron of the Year in 2017 and 2021. Commander Allen's superior instructional abilities directly contributed to the training, preparation, and graduation of 6 pilots for the Navy Fighter Weapons School Adversary Course, which enabled Fighter Squadron Composite 204 to retain its capacity to effectively provide fleet training to exceptional adversary support. Commander Allen's distinctive accomplishments highlighted the culmination of 20 years of honorable and dedicated service. By his exceptional professional ability, steadfast initiative, and selfless dedication to duty, Commander Allen reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, B.D. Dunham, Rear Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Air Force Reserve. Fred and these United States represent the finest attributes of our Navy. While we salute today the many achievements of your husband over his 20 years of naval service, I am mindful that he could not have succeeded without the solid foundation of his family cheering his efforts from afar. When America looked to him to answer the call, he looked to you to provide the love and support necessary to carry the load, and in doing so, he made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. As his active duty draws to a close, we want to say thank you and wish you and your entire family fair winds and following seas. Given this 11th day of February 2023, Mitchell A. Newton, Commander, United States Navy, Commanding Officer, Fighter Squadron Composite 204. Braden Allen, Ainsley Allen, and Sydney Allen. By the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for your enduring support of your father's career of service to the nation. Your selfless sacrifices on behalf of both Fred and these United States represent the finest attributes of our Navy. While we salute today the many achievements of your father over his 20 years of naval service, I am mindful that he could not have succeeded without the solid foundation of his family cheering his efforts from afar. When America looked to him to answer the call, he looked to you to provide the love and support necessary to carry the load, and in doing so, he made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. As his active duty draws to a close, we want to say thank you and wish you and your entire family fair winds and following seas. Given this 11th day of February 2023, Mitchell Newton, Commanding Officer, Fighter Squadron Composite 204. These presents greetings. Jim Allen and Carol Allen, by the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for enduring the frequent and long separation from your son as he served his country. These months, indeed years, that he spent away from you constitute a clear and noble demonstration of his love for you and his family. You see, he left you in order to ensure that you inherited a safer world, a surer place. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your son did. With his service to the Navy now complete, you will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States Navy thanks you and your son for enduring these separations. Given this 11th day of February 2023, Mitchell Newton, Commanding Officer, Fighter Squadron Composite 204.
This is pretty cool. Appreciate all you guys coming out. Mardi Gras made it a little bit easier. It's gonna have a good weekend. All right, I guess we'll get started. Skipper, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is a great weekend, and it's the first time we've all been together in almost 6 months, I think. Partly because I haven't been here in a long time, but we also didn't have any airplanes, so it's nice to see everybody back together. Thanks, guys. You look great in your chokers. I know you're really excited to wear that today. Thank you very much. Lucas, dang, what do I owe you for that? That was good. Mostly true, too. Appreciate it. All right, we'll get started here. So we covered that. Yep, the entire wedding party is basically on stage or has been on stage. So that's pretty fantastic. I approached Ruckus and asked him to do that, and he thought I was kidding. And I'm like, dude, I found a site online. It's $40. I'll pay you. We can do this. So we made it happen. Key West is a place that we'd love to go to again. I'll take just a few minutes to thank my family, because they're huge. Love you guys. Thanks for coming out here. Cammie, Jamie, and Christy, my sister's been along the way the entire time, helping me get through everything. Thanks for your guidance and your love along the way. Will, my brother, and Meredith. I think I still owe you guys rent. I lived with you. I don't even know how many times I lived with you along the way. So thank you for that. Otto, brother-in-law is a former F-15 pilot, and he gave me a lot of mentorship along the way, helped me get to where I am today, so Dave, thanks for that. And then we have nieces and nephews here. Second Lieutenant Ryan Graff, happy birthday. Thanks for coming out. We got Mark, Addie, Kate, Luke, Nate, Annie, and Brooke. It's been awesome watching you guys grow up. I hope I get more time to do that and see where the road's going to take you down the road. Leah and Andrew, thanks. Thanks for coming. Love you guys. We don't get to see enough, even though we're only an hour away. Let's try and fix that now that I'm be home a little bit more. Larry and Melinda Reisinger, my mother and father-in-law. Courtney and I would nearly be nearly as successful as we are today without your help along the way with the kids and the way our life was changing. So thank you. Mom and Dad, thanks for not giving up on me. It's getting dusty. Thanks for not giving up on me along the way, even when I didn't deserve the support. Without you, I certainly wouldn't be where I am today. I appreciate everything that you've done for all of us in the family, and I'm so happy that you're here today and spend this time with all of us. All right, Caden, Braden, Ainsley, Sydney, I'm gonna be home more. Better or worse? I'm gonna be home more. It's gonna be fun. It's been fun watching you guys grow up too, and I'm glad that I'll be home more now to help see you through the activities and see you grow up and help you along the way. Courtney, our family wouldn't exist the way it is today without you caring a little while. I was lighting my hair on fire in some place that wasn't home and having a great time. It's been a ton of fun. I'm glad you found time to come out and meet me on debt when you could do that, and supporting all the family and taking care of the kids. Thanks for that. I love you. I'd do it all over again. So, thanks. I signed a pilot contract with the Navy a little over 20 years ago. As Rukus mentioned there, right after the tax of September 11th. What I thought was going to be a career in commercial aviation, following my father's footsteps, changed very, very quickly. Dave was already flying F-15s, trying to talk me into headed to the Air Force. Turns out I was not smart enough for the Air Force. And the Navy picked me up, and it's been fantastic. Right, I wouldn't have changed along the way. The guidance I got from my father and my flight instructor, Doug White, who's here as well, who was actually the first person to take me to Key West, we had a blast there, gave me the drive, the work ethic that I needed to succeed in military aviation. And ultimately select the F-18, which is a jet that I flew for my entire career. I never left. I was fortunate to get to fly it the entire time, up until this past summer when VFA 204 retired the F-18 from naval service. I was fortunate enough to take a jet to the Boneyard in Tucson, Arizona as my final flight, as that aircraft's final flight. That was a pretty awesome moment for me. Great way to sail down into the sunset. Really bittersweet, but got me here today. The jets and the squadrons that I was assigned to over the years led me on multiple deployments, years at sea, flying missions all over the world from Iraq, Afghanistan, most recently Syria, flying in air shows and teaching carrier aviation to both new F-18 pilots and experienced F-18 pilots who were getting ready to go back to sea, and that was the most rewarding job in my career. I'm lucky, could have been a different story. I won't say that it's gone in blink and eye because it most certainly has not. There were plenty of moments that felt like an eternity. I remember flying around the aircraft carrier at night in bad weather, where you don't even know you're moving, thinking to myself, how stupid this is, and what am I doing here right now? And then all of a sudden the lights of the boat show up, and you suck your seat cushion up. Hopefully you trap, you get out of the aircraft and you go down, and you get to have a mid-rest with all your friends, and you'll act like it's no big deal. But it was a big deal, and I will miss it. Nights where the fuel tanker's basket was swinging around so much with nowhere to land, I wished I was sitting on duty in an aircraft carrier being corrected on my poor grammar by a certain former commanding officer who was a Harvard fellow that made me rewrite the schedule about 15 times a day. Can't read my text messages half the time. He's like, what the hell are you saying? But it wasn't all tough. The poor calls with the squadrons after a month at sea occupy a very small space in the depths of my memory, and those memories, or those times, certainly went by incredibly too fast. The years I spent sitting on the back of the LSO platform in the aircraft carrier, making sure everybody trapped safely aboard, where you get to see the darkest skies that you've ever seen out at sea and see the stars like you can't anywhere else. The years I spent sitting out there, they went by too fast as well. My life port call mantra is not a marathon, it's a sprint. And that ensured that those moments in distant lands I had only heard about in school went by in such a blur that I will never remember most of them. I'm honored to be in this room with all of you and fortunate to have been in a ready room with what are the truly best fighter pilots in the Navy. This is a very unique squadron in that we get to choose most of the people that come here, and we only take experienced fleet aviators. And it's not every day that you literally get to fly with the best pilots in the Navy, where you show up and you know everyone's going to be where they're supposed to be and do what they're going to do. And it's been awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. There's no adversary in the world that would stand a chance against this ready room, and it's painful for me to leave it, but it's time for me to go. And this today is the hardest part of my career. So, thank you for everything. It's been an awesome 20 years. And I'll close you with the squadron motto, Les es les bon temps roulent, which means let the good times roll. Beers are on me.
My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am arrogant, I am proud. When I'm flown with my fellow banners, my head is held a little higher. My colors are a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped, I am saluted, I am respected, I am revered, I am loved, and I am feared. For more than 200 years, I have fought in every battle of every war. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Tarawa, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, the deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan, and a score of other places long forgotten by all. But those who were with me, I was there. I led my sailors and Marines, I followed them, I watched over them, they loved me. I was on a small hill on Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-torn, and tired, but my sailors and Marines cheered me. I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th. As cowardly fanatics attacked America, I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloodied, will never be beaten. Those who would destroy me cannot win, for I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries that I have helped to set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it's done by those whom with I have served within battle, it hurts, but I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the new frontiers of space. I have been the silent witness of all of America's finest hours, but my finest hour comes when I'm torn into strips and used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my sailors and Marines, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory, long may I wave, dear God, long may I wave. Commander Allen will now present the flag to his wife, Mrs. Courtney Allen, for her unfailing support and understanding during her husband's many years of naval service. Please rise to the end of the ceremony. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Shipmate going ashore. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. This order has been passed on naval ships from the 1500s through today. Spanish, French, English, Dutch, all the navies of the world use the bosun side buoys and call to bring aboard or send ashore all ships, company officers, visiting officers, dignitaries, and VIPs. The side buoys would haul on the ropes to raise or lower the boarding platform so officers would not have to climb the rat lines when going ashore or to get aboard. This honor was extended to visiting officers, dignitaries, and port officials. It was not uncommon for the commanding officer of a ship to order up the jolly boat, a crew of 8 strong backs, side boys, and bosuns to send an old shipmate and fellow officer to their shore, retirement, or home, never to set sail on naval ships again. All hands on deck was passed, speeches were made about great victories, battles fought upon open seas, raging storms weathered, and voyages to distant and strange lands with ports of call others only dreamed about. Then a fine sword, a brace of pistols, or a rifle or musket with maybe a sea chest of fine wood and brass was presented to remind them of the crews and ships that they served with. The bosun would stand tall, the side boys, retiree, would request permission to go ashore, step to the platform, and the side boys would lower away. As the jolly boat pulled away, the gunner would fire a salute from the ship's main battery, the retirees seated in the stern sheets going ashore. Commander Allen will now report to Commander Newton and request permission to go ashore for the final time. Commander, United States Navy, departing. Commander Allen will now be joined by his family. All officers, man no else. Commander, United States Navy, retired, and family, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our official ceremony. On behalf of Commander Allen and his family, Commander Newton, and the men and women of VSC 204, we extend our deepest and sincerest thanks to all of you for joining us in this time-honored tradition. There's a small reception immediately following here in BB Stage Shore Canteen. Everyone is invited to join the Allen family for refreshments. Thank you.